First Contact and Alliance. The star charts hadn't prepared Captain Sarah Chen for the sight before her. The alien vessel hung in space like a crystalline snowflake, its translucent surfaces refracting starlight in impossible patterns. After 3 centuries of space exploration, humanity had finally made first contact, and it wasn't anything like the military brass had predicted. "They're broadcasting again, Captain," Lieutenant Rivera reported from his communication station. "Same frequency, still no hostile emissions detected." Chen stood from her command chair aboard the UES Pathfinder, Earth's most advanced deep space explorer. "Put it through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. The universal translator had been working overtime to decipher their language, but now it rendered the aliens' words in clear English. "We are the Aetherians," the being said, its voice carrying a musical quality. "We come seeking allies against a darkness that threatens us all." That was 6 months ago. Now Chen stood in the United Earth Council chamber, watching as human and Aetherian leaders signed the most important treaty in human history. The Aetherians had shared their story of their advanced civilization that had chosen the path of scientific and spiritual development over military might, and of the brutal Mexer Empire that had been systematically destroying every species that refused to submit to their rule. The Aetherians had detected Earth's quantum communication experiments, recognizing humanity's potential. While Earth's technology wasn't as advanced as theirs in many areas, humans had developed remarkable innovations in military strategy and defensive capabilities, born from centuries of their own conflicts and the harsh realities of space exploration. "The Nexer will come," Lyra, the Aetherian ambassador, had warned during the negotiations. Her crystalline staff pulsed with soft light as she spoke. "They always come, but together we might stand a chance." The treaty was comprehensive. The Aetherians would share their advanced propulsion and energy technologies, while Earth would help strengthen their defenses and develop military strategies. But it was more than just a military alliance. It was a fusion of 2 civilizations that complemented each other perfectly. Human scientists worked alongside Aetherian scholars, marveling at their quantum manipulation abilities, while offering practical applications they'd never considered. Aetherian architects helped design new hybrid ships that combined their elegant energy systems with humanity's robust combat capabilities. Chen had been promoted to fleet commander, overseeing the integration of human and Aetherian naval forces. The differences in their approaches were stark. Aetherian ships were works of art, designed to exist in harmony with space itself, while human vessels were practical, sturdy, and built for war. Together, they were creating something entirely new. "The Nexer's strength lies in their brutality," explained Lyra during a strategic briefing. "They cannot comprehend cooperation between species. They see it as weakness." "Then that's their weakness," Chen replied, studying the tactical displays. "They won't expect us to work together effectively." The intelligence reports were troubling. The Nexer Empire had already conquered 3 civilizations in the past Earth year alone. Their ships were massive, dark behemoths that traveled in overwhelming numbers, powered by stolen technology and the resources of conquered worlds. But for the first time in generations, the Aetherians had hope. They saw in humanity not just military strength, but a spirit that refused to bow to tyranny. Humans, in turn, found in the Aetherians a vision of what civilization could achieve, a society that had transcended internal conflict to reach incredible heights of scientific and cultural achievement. As Chen watched the treaty signing conclude, she noticed something remarkable. The Aetherian delegate's skin was glowing brighter, a sign of strong emotion among their kind. They were witnessing something they had thought impossible: the birth of an alliance that could finally stand against the Nexer. The work ahead would be challenging, integrating 2 vastly different military doctrines, technologies, and cultures would take time they might not have. But as Chen looked around the chamber, seeing human and Aetherian officers already working side by side, she felt a surge of optimism. "We're picking up long-range sensor contacts." Rivera's voice crackled through her communicator, interrupting her thoughts. Multiple signatures matching Nexer profiles just entered the outer system. Chen exchanged glances with Lyra across the chamber. The Aetherian's expression was grim but determined. They had both known this day would come. They had just hoped for more time. "Send the alert," Chen ordered, already moving toward the command center. "All ships to battle stations. It's time to show the Nexer what our alliance can do." The warning klaxons began to sound throughout Earth's orbital installations. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, but they wouldn't face it alone. As Chen strode down the corridor, she saw human and Aetherian crews running to their posts together, united in purpose. The Nexer Empire was about to learn that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in conquest, but in cooperation. The fate of two civilizations, and perhaps many more, would depend on it. The coming storm. Admiral Chen watched through the quantum viewport as another wave of hybrid warships emerged from Earth's orbital shipyards. The vessels were unlike anything either civilization had created before. Sleek Aetherian energy cores housed within reinforced human hull designs, weapon systems that combined Earth's raw firepower with Aetherian precision targeting. Remarkable progress, Lyra observed beside her. The Aetherian's crystalline staff pulsed in sync with the ship's energy signatures. 3 months ago, such integration would have seemed impossible. The impossible had become necessary. Nexer scout ships had been probing both human and Aetherian space with increasing frequency. Each incursion pushed deeper, testing responses, measuring defensive capabilities. The enemy was methodical, gathering intelligence before their inevitable full-scale assault. "Latest intelligence report," Commander Rivera announced, stepping into the command center. His uniform now bore both human and Aetherian insignia. Like all Joint Force officers, the Nexer have established forward bases in the Aldebaran sector. They're staging for something big. Chen nodded grimly. The Nexer's pattern was becoming clear. They were systematically isolating human and Aetherian territories, cutting off potential escape routes and establishing choke points for their main invasion force. "Show me," she ordered, and the command center's holographic display sprang to life with a 3-dimensional map of known space. Red markers indicated confirmed Nexer positions, spreading like a cancer through the stellar landscape. Lyra's hand passed through the hologram, her fingers trailing streams of light as she manipulated the display. "Their fleet movements suggest they'll strike here first." She highlighted a cluster of Aetherian colonies near the border of human space. "It's where our territories meet. Breaking through there would split our forces." The Joint Human Aetherian Defense Force had been preparing for this. Every colony was now protected by a network of automated defense platforms. Human-designed weaponry powered by Aetherian energy systems. Space stations had been retrofitted with hybrid shield technology. Civilian populations had been drilled in evacuation procedures. But would it be enough? "The Nexer's strength has always been in overwhelming force," Rivera explained, pulling up tactical analyses. "They don't innovate. They simply throw waves of ships at a target until it breaks. Then we make them pay for every meter," Chen replied, studying the defensive layouts. "We've placed quantum mines throughout these sectors. The Aetherian sensor network will give us advance warning of any large-scale movement." A soft chime interrupted their planning. One of the quantum communication arrays was receiving a transmission from deep within Nexer space. Chen felt her blood run cold as the message decoded. It was footage from an unconquered world. The Nexer wanted them to see what happened to those who resisted. The images showed cities in ruins, populations enslaved, entire ecosystems destroyed to fuel the Nexer war machine. But what they intended as intimidation only strengthened the Alliance's resolve. "They think this will make us surrender," Lyra said softly, her skin dimming with sorrow. "They cannot comprehend that it does the opposite." Chen turned to face the assembled command staff, human and Aetherian officers working as one. The Nexer believe that different species cannot truly cooperate, that will fracture under pressure. Everything we've built here proves them wrong. Every integrated ship, every joint operation, every shared technology stands as evidence against their ideology. The room hummed with determination. They had spent months preparing, training together, learning each other's strengths and adapting to cover each other's weaknesses. Humans had taught Aetherians the art of tactical unpredictability, while Aetherians had shown humans how to extend their consciousness into their ship systems, becoming one with their vessels. New contact. A sensor operator called out, multiple signatures dropping out of FTL at the edge of the Proxima system. The tactical display updated, showing a massive Nexar battle fleet emerging from hyperspace. Their ships were dark, angular things that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The attack they had been preparing for was finally beginning. All defense grids to full power, Chen ordered, her voice steady. Launch our ready squadrons. Activate the quantum minefields. She turned to Lyra. Signal all Allied forces. Operation Aegis is now in effect. Throughout human and Aetherian space, warships jumped to predetermined positions. Defense platforms charged their weapons. Civilian ships began emergency evacuations of the most exposed colonies. The coming storm would reshape the galaxy, but they would face it together. As Chen watched the Nexar fleet approach on tactical displays, she felt a strange calm. They had prepared for this moment, had forged two different civilizations into a single defensive force. The Nexar were about to learn that their greatest weakness was their inability to understand the strength found in unity. All ships, battle stations, she commanded. Let's show them what this alliance can do. The first shots of the war were about to be fired, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. But as Chen looked around at her mixed crew of humans and Aetherians, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it as one. The Nexar onslaught. The void erupted in fire as the first wave of Nexar ships smashed through the quantum minefield. Their massive dreadnoughts absorbed damage that would have vaporized smaller vessels, pushing forward with relentless determination. Behind them came swarms of smaller craft, dark arrows against the stars. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, a new hybrid command ship that represented the peak of human Aetherian engineering. Status of the defensive line. Holding for now, Riverer reported, his hands dancing across the tactical interface. Aetherian energy shields are redistributing the impact force. Our gun batteries are finding their marks. But the Nexar kept coming. Where their ships were destroyed, they simply pushed the wreckage aside with more ships. Their tactics were brutal and straightforward, overwhelming force applied repeatedly until something broke. Nexar forces breaching in Sector 7. An Aetherian officer called out, her crystalline interface pulsing red. Colony evacuation only 60% complete. Redirect the 3rd and 5th squadrons to cover their retreat, Chen ordered. Lyra, can your Lightweavers buy us more time? The Aetherian commander nodded, her skin glowing with concentrated energy. Under her direction, a group of specialized Aetherian ships moved into formation. They began generating massive quantum fields, bending both light and space itself to confuse Nexar targeting systems. It worked, briefly. The Nexar advance faltered as their ships fired at phantom targets. But then something changed. The enemy fleet shifted formation, and a new class of vessel emerged from their ranks. These ships were different. They bore the distinctive architecture of conquered Aetherian technology. They've adapted our quantum manipulation systems, Lyra said, her voice tight. This is how they grow stronger, stealing and corrupting the technologies of those they defeat. The battle devolved into chaos. Human missile barrages and rail gunfire mixed with Aetherian energy weapons in a desperate attempt to stem the Nexar advance. But for every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. The void filled with debris and radiation as ships on both sides were torn apart. Multiple hull breaches on the orbital platforms. Rivera shouted over the sound of emergency alerts. They're targeting our command and control systems. Chen watched as the tactical display showed more red icons pushing through their defensive line. The Nexar were using their stolen Aetherian technology to bypass their most sophisticated defenses. Years of preparation were being undone in hours. Fall back to secondary positions, she ordered, knowing each retreat meant another colony lost, another world abandoned to the Nexar advance. Priority is protecting the evacuation ships. The cost was staggering. Dozens of human and Aetherian vessels sacrificed themselves to cover the retreat of civilian transports. The Nexar showed no mercy, firing on escape pods and medical ships with the same ruthless efficiency they directed at warships. "Admiral," Lyra called out, her staff interfacing with the ship's quantum core, "I'm detecting a pattern in their attack formation. They're not just destroying, they're hurting us, driving our forces toward the Arcturus sector." Chen studied the tactical plot and saw it too. The Nexar weren't just attacking randomly. They were executing a massive envelopment maneuver, trying to trap the combined human-Aetherian fleet in a sector where they'd already destroyed the supply lines. "All ships, emergency jump to coordinates Delta 9, she commanded. "We can't let them encircle our forces." The retreat was orderly but costly. The Nexar pressed their advantage, their ships moving with unnatural coordination. It was as if they were all controlled by a single mind, each vessel acting as part of a larger organism. "Status of the colony evacuations," Chen demanded. 87% complete in the primary sectors," Rivera reported. "But we've lost contact with the outer settlements. The Nexar are jamming all communications." The bridge rocked as a Nexar battle group got through their screen of escorts. The Defiant's hybrid shields held, but other ships weren't so fortunate. Chen watched helplessly as vessel after vessel winked out on her tactical display. "This isn't a battle anymore," Lyra observed grimly. "It's becoming a slaughter." Chen knew she was right. The Nexar had spent months studying their defenses, probing for weaknesses, and now they were exploiting every vulnerability they'd found. The combined fleet was being systematically torn apart. "All ships, fall back to the Terra Nova defense line," Chen ordered. It was their last prepared position before Earth itself would be exposed. "We make our stand there." As the battered Alliance fleet retreated, the full scale of the disaster became clear. Dozens of colonies overrun, countless lives lost or captured, and the enemy advancing inexorably toward the heart of both civilizations. The Nexar had proven why they were feared throughout the galaxy, but as Chen watched her crews, human and Aetherian working seamlessly together even in defeat, she saw something the enemy couldn't understand. Every shared sacrifice, every joint victory, every moment of cooperation made the Alliance stronger. They had lost the first major battle, but the war was far from over. And in the depths of space, human engineers and Aetherian scientists were already working on something that would change everything, if they could only buy enough time to complete it. Turning point. Deep within an asteroid base at the edge of human space, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a holographic display of their latest prototype. The massive ship design rotating before her represented 3 months of non-stop work by the best minds of both species. Its hull incorporated crystalline lattices grown by Aetherian artisans, while the weapons systems showcased humanity's most advanced innovations in destructive capability. "The quantum core integration is stable," reported Zora, her Aetherian research partner. "We've solved the power distribution problems." They called it Project Phoenix, a new class of warship that truly merged both civilizations' technologies. Not just a hybrid, but something entirely new, something the Nexar wouldn't expect. "Admiral Chen, the prototype is ready for field testing," Maya announced over the quantum comm. "But we'll need a proper crew tow." The transmission cut off as proximity alarms blared throughout the facility. The Nexar had found them. Aboard the UES Defiant, Chen received the broken transmission with growing concern. The research base contained their best hope for turning the tide, but it was now directly in the path of a major Nexar assault force. "All available ships, converge on Research Station Omega," she ordered. We cannot lose that facility. The response was immediate. Human and Aetherian vessels dropped out of FTL near the asteroid base, forming a defensive screen. They were fewer in number now, after months of grinding warfare, but they fought with the coordination of a force that had been forged in combat. Nexar fleet approaching, Rivera reported. 5 dreadnoughts, multiple support squadrons. They know, Lyra said quietly. They must have detected the energy signatures from the prototype testing. Chen nodded grimly. Then we make them pay dearly for that knowledge. All ships. Execute Protocol Omega. The battle that followed would later be known as the defense of Phoenix Station. Human gunships darted between asteroids, launching precision strikes at Nexar weak points identified by Aetherian sensors. Aetherian vessels used their quantum fields to redirect enemy fire, protecting their more heavily armed human allies. But inside the research station, Maya and her team were racing against time. The prototype wasn't fully tested, its systems barely integrated. We need to launch now, Zara insisted, her skin pulsing with urgent light patterns. The defensive fleet cannot hold much longer. Maya looked at the readouts again. The ship was at 89% completion. Not perfect, but it would have to be enough. Begin launch sequence, she ordered. All research teams, evacuate to secondary facilities. The asteroid's artificial cavern split open, revealing the prototype in all its glory. Nearly twice the size of a standard dreadnought, its crystalline metallic hull seemed to shift between states of matter. Where traditional ships bristled with external weapons, this vessel's armaments were seamlessly integrated into its structure. Phoenix Actual, this is Admiral Chen, the comm crackled. Whatever you're planning to do it fast. We're losing ships out here. The prototype's quantum core hummed to life, its hybrid crew of humans and Aetherians linking with the ship's systems in a way neither species could have managed alone. This was no mere vessel. It was the physical embodiment of everything their alliance had achieved. Target the Nexar command ship, Maya instructed from her emergency evacuation shuttle. Show them what Phoenix can do. What happened next would be recorded in the histories of both civilizations. The prototype ship, officially designated as the Phoenix-class battleship, engaged its quantum drive. But instead of conventional FTL travel, it did something the Nexar had never seen before. It shifted partially out of normal space, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Nexar targeting systems couldn't lock onto a ship that wasn't fully present in any one location. Their stolen Aetherian technology was useless against this new implementation. The Phoenix's main weapon fired. A combination of human antimatter weaponry and Aetherian quantum manipulation that created a cascading reaction in the fabric of space-time itself. The Nexar command ship, for all its size and stolen technology, simply ceased to exist. By the eternal stars, Lyra breathed, watching the tactical display. It actually worked. The remaining Nexar ships attempted to adapt, but their rigid command structure had been disrupted. For the first time, their perfect coordination faltered. The Alliance fleet pressed their advantage, and the Nexar were forced to retreat. Analysis confirms total destruction of their command vessel, Rivera reported, his voice containing a note of awe. The quantum cascade appears to have severed their network connection to the other ships. It was more than just a tactical victory. They had discovered the Nexar's greatest weakness, their absolute reliance on centralized control. The Phoenix hadn't just destroyed a ship, it had demonstrated how to break the enemy's entire command structure. Begin immediate production of additional Phoenix-class vessels, Chen ordered. Priority on all remaining shipyards. She turned to Lyra. How quickly can your people adapt more quantum cores for this purpose? The Aetherian commander's skin glowed with renewed hope. With the prototype proven, we can accelerate production significantly. The hard part was solving the initial integration problems. As damage reports came in and rescue operations began, Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had lost much in this war, but they had gained something unprecedented, a true fusion of two civilizations' greatest achievements. The Nexar's strength had always been their unity of purpose, but now they faced an alliance that had found unity while preserving the unique strengths of both its members. The tide was turning, but the war was far from over. The Nexar would adapt, would come back stronger. But for the first time since the invasion began, Chen felt real hope. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were winning. Victory's price. The Nexar homeworld loomed before them, a planet wrapped in artificial constructs and orbital rings built from the plundered resources of 100 conquered worlds. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Phoenix Prime, leading a fleet of 30 Phoenix-class vessels, each one representing countless hours of human-Aetherian collaboration. The Nexar have concentrated their remaining forces here, Lyra reported, her crystalline staff interfacing with the fleet's quantum network. They've adapted some countermeasures against our quantum shifting technology. As expected, Chen responded. The Nexar were nothing if not adaptable. After their first encounters with the Phoenix-class ships, they had restructured their command and control systems, making them more distributed. But that adaptation had come at a cost. Their formerly perfect coordination was now fragmented. All ships report ready, Commander Rivera announced. The human Aetherian ground forces are in position for planetary insertion. The past 6 months had seen a complete reversal of the war's momentum. With each Phoenix-class vessel they deployed, another sector of space had been liberated. The Nexar's stolen technology proved ineffective against weapons systems they couldn't properly analyze, couldn't predict. Begin the assault, Chen ordered. Execute Operation Daybreak. The fleet moved as one, their quantum cores synchronized in ways that defied conventional physics. The first wave of Nexar defenders met them with overwhelming firepower, but their shots passed through quantum ghosts while the real ships struck from impossible angles. But the Nexar weren't finished. From the planet's surface, massive energy weapons opened fire, technology they'd developed specifically to counter the Phoenix-class vessels. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as the two sides clashed. Multiple hits on Phoenix 7, Rivera called out. Their new weapons can track our quantum signatures. Chen had anticipated this. Deploy the resonance fields, she commanded, just like we planned. Across the fleet, Aetherian crystal matrices activated in patterns that had taken months to perfect. The energy weapons from the surface began to interfere with each other, their beams becoming erratic and unfocused. Human ingenuity and Aetherian wisdom, Lyra said with satisfaction. They cannot counter both simultaneously. The battle for the Nexar homeworld was unlike anything in known space. Phoenix-class ships phased in and out of reality, their human weapons officers working in perfect synchronization with Aetherian energy weavers. Where the Nexar had sought to dominate through force, the Alliance had learned to prevail through harmony. Ground forces reporting successful deployment, Rivera announced. They've secured the primary control nodes. The Nexar's resistance was fierce but ultimately futile. They had built their empire on stolen technology and forced submission, never understanding that true strength came from willing cooperation. Their attempts to adapt to Alliance tactics were always one step behind, trying to counter the previous strategy while new ones were already being implemented. Admiral, Lyra called out suddenly, I'm detecting massive energy buildups across their orbital platforms. They're initiating some kind of chain reaction. Chen's blood ran cold as she realized what they were witnessing. They're going to destroy their own homeworld rather than admit defeat. All ships, concentrate fire on those platforms. Deploy emergency containment fields. The next few minutes were chaos. Phoenix-class vessels darted between exploding orbital structures, their combined human-Aetherian crews working desperately to contain the chain reaction. The Nexar had chosen final destruction over surrender, but the Alliance refused to let another world die. Containment fields holding at 60%. Rivera reported through gritted teeth. We're losing stability in sectors 3 through 7. Divert power from weapons to the containment grid, Chen ordered. We didn't come this far to witness another genocide. In that moment, something remarkable happened. The remaining Nexar ships, seeing their leadership's willingness to destroy their own homeworld, began powering down their weapons. One by one, they stood down. "We're receiving surrender signals," Lyra announced, her skin glowing with complex emotions. From the surface as well, the remaining Nexar forces are standing down. The containment fields held. The chain reaction was stopped. At long last, the war was over. Hours later, Chen stood in what had once been the Nexar High Command Center, now transformed into a provisional Alliance headquarters. The cost had been staggering. Countless lives lost, worlds scared, entire species traumatized. But something new had been born from the crucible of conflict. "The rescued species are already petitioning to join the Alliance," Lyra reported. "They see in us what the Nexar could never understand: strength through voluntary cooperation." Chen nodded, watching as human and Aetherian medical teams worked together to treat injured Nexar civilians. "We'll help them rebuild," she said. "All of them. That's the difference between us and their former leaders." The Phoenix-class ships remained in orbit, no longer weapons of war but symbols of what could be achieved when different civilizations chose to work together. Their quantum cores pulsed in harmony with the stars, a testament to the power of unity freely given rather than forcibly taken. The galaxy was changing. The alliance between humans and Aetherians had shown that different species could do more than just coexist. They could create something greater than the sum of their parts. As the sun set on the Nexar homeworld, it rose on a new era of cooperation and shared progress. "Ready to begin reconstruction efforts, Admiral?" Lyra asked, her staff glowing with renewed purpose. Chen looked out at the horizon, where human engineering teams were already working alongside Aetherian energy weavers to restore damaged infrastructure. "Ready," she replied. "We have a galaxy to rebuild." The war was over, but their greatest challenge and greatest opportunity was just beginning.